Hey, Ag Teacher Christmas here. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is the Ag Teacher Thoughts channel. So, as you guys see this stream later on, just know it is Christmas season for me. I'm also an extreme decorator. So, check out the other channel, Ag Teacher Christmas. It's linked down into the description. So, yeah, with that, it's my Christmas themed channel. So, not only do I do plants, but I also do Christmas lights, like crazy Christmas lights. So there's that channel to go to too. All right, so topics of the day. We might wait for a few people to come on because I said it was going to start in 2 minutes. So it'll give me a chance to see how hot the coffee is. Pretty hot. So flavor of the day of the coffee is Wild Mountain Berry. Kind of coming after that that hazelnut theme, or not hazelnut, the huckleberry theme. I do have a topic today that is plant related, but it is not firefly petunia related. So I do have some firefly petunias to talk about, but that's not our main topic today. So petunias aren't our main topic. Our main topic is actually, I guess you could say this is our Thanksgiving special, because we're going to talk a little bit about a Thanksgiving food, and I've got a pie pan, so that's what we're going to talk about. Seems really weird to be live streaming to nobody, but that's all right. It's just like shooting a regular video. Okay, so pie pan today. We will talk about what goes in the pie pan. I'll give you a helpful hint. You give them to teachers. So in a way, it's kind of near and dear to my heart that way too. And I don't know where the hoverflies are coming from, but I've got like a population of, oh, there one right past the camera. I've got a population of hoverflies in here that I don't really care for, but they're here and I can't really do anything about it. So, yeah. Sorry about the fan noise. That's the heater. It's been keeping this at a nice balmy 62 degrees at night, which is nice. I think we're like 74, 75 right now. So temperatures going good. So very happy with the greenhouse. Okay, so it's 11 o'clock. That is our traditional start time. So if you're just catching this later and you're watching this recorded live stream, just understand I start these every Wednesday. I do believe it's Wednesday. Let me check. It better be Wednesday. It is Wednesday. This is Wednesday, November 19th. It's 11:01. So this is when I do my live streams. I know some of you would rather I do this later in the day, but this is a day I have the option to do this. So that's why there's not an evening live stream. And doggone it, guys, I want my weekends, so there's not going to be weekend live streams. Maybe sometime in the future, but not right now. So anyway, let's get into our topic for today. So we've got our topic right here. So I'm going to do my best to be able to see both screens. See if we've got them nice and presentable. All right, so here, let's make. See how these are kind of dusty? They've got their protective wax on them. Let's make it look like a grocery store apple. So I got a nice towel here. You know, yeah, stores cover their apples in carnauba wax, but you don't need carnauba wax to make an apple nice and bright. Here we go. See the difference between the two? This one's kind of dull. This one's nice and bright and shiny. So we've polished that wax on there. Now, without me telling you what variety of apple this is, let's see if you can guess. What variety do you think this is? So I'll give you a few moments to kind of look it over. Yeah, I'll just roll this guy around. Few moments to look it over. What variety of apple do you think that is? Now, I will say this comes from an older tree. So I did actually go pick this. So this apple was picked from a local tree up in an area in our area that's known as the orchards, although there's no orchards left. They turned it all into houses like every community does. So this is a nice, bright, shiny apple. This one is absolutely delicious. It has a nice, bright red color to it. So if you haven't figured it out, this is a red delicious apple. And let me tell you, these red delicious apples, they taste completely different and have completely different texture than what our school children are getting at school right now. You know, they get red delicious, but my students would call them crapples, like crappy apples, crapples. They didn't eat them. They were very green, very fibrous, no sugar, no flavor, but they were getting fruit. That's what the government said. But this is what a red delicious apple should look like. You know what? Let me see if I can polish this lens. Uh-oh. That's a little better. I think it's the lighting. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't think shading the camera is going to change that much. So this is a red delicious apple of old. This is an older version of it. Government regulations on sugar and calories and things like that have shrunk the red delicious that most school children get down to a shadow of its former self. Let me tell you, when I was growing up, this is what a red delicious looked like. They were fantastic. But government regulations on food, thanks to every presidential group that's come through and said, hey, our kids need to be healthier. So we took sugar out of apples and made them nasty. But I didn't really come here to talk about the red delicious. This is just my example apple. It's what I had. I went and picked about 80 pounds of apples off of this tree. So we're going to talk about one of the problems we have in America with apples. And I'm going to use one of my personal experiences in my personal campaigns to talk about that. So we needed a demo apple. Now, growing up, I absolutely loved apples. Our family farm had a lot of apple trees on it. Gosh, I can't even remember all the varieties. And I'm sure if my father sees this live stream, he will respond later on of what varieties of apples we had. But there was one particular apple tree that we had that I want to find again, and I can't. So that apple tree was very, very special because its apples were unique in a way that we don't normally see. So apples have a lot of different purposes. They can be eating apples. They can be applesauce apples. They can be a storage apple. They can be a cider apple. They can be a pie apple. Okay. So when you think of various apples, they've been developed for different purposes. Red Delicious is an eating apple. Also makes a great pie. Not so much on the sauce. Okay. If you wanted a sauce apple, a yellow transparent is perfect for sauce. Gives you a snow white sauce, very little chunky pulp. It's just a smooth, good saucing apple. But when yellow transparents get ripe, they turn very grainy, very gritty. And they're one that you bite into. There's no fiber to resist. And it's just kind of cider apples. If you bite into a cider apple, they're incredibly juicy. Last time I had a cider apple, it was a dark reddish purple skin, very, very dark, almost black. And I bit into it and there was a snow white flesh. And then the juice of the apple just kind of, you couldn't help it. There was so much juice. It just kind of ran out of the apple as you tried to take a bite. So you get the idea. Apples have purposes. Red Delicious, definitely eating and pie apple. Now, this apple that I am seeking is one that was grown simply for its physical characteristics. It was a big apple. It was a very big apple. In fact, it is the apple variety that produces the world's largest apple. Okay, so before we get into that name, some of you are going to start Googling it and try to figure out, and no, it's not the current Hanners. No. That's the only thing that's going to come up. This is actually one that the Hanner guy discovered, and then it was taken somewhere else, but then it's been introduced, but it's not the same. I'll tell you, it's not the same. So let me talk a little bit about apples and apple varieties first, so that we kind of have an understanding of why I think we have a problem. Well, I don't think, I know we have a problem in the United States. So I'm going to read off Wikipedia. So this comes directly from Wikipedia, because it's the best way for me to kind of summarize this for you to understand. Okay, so it is a movement or an organization called the Lost Apple Project. And the Lost Apple Project is trying to reclaim heritage varieties of apples that have been lost to time. Okay, so some of our common varieties, they're still around. They're quite abundant. Now, right now in the United States, we have about 4,500 varieties of apple. That's a lot. I think we've got about 3,000 varieties of tomato. So there's a lot more apples out there for apple varieties than there is, of many of the other foods that we consume. Now, the problem is we've had more than getting rain on the keyboard. We've had more than 4,500 varieties of apple. So we've actually lost a lot of varieties of apple. So let me read this off for you. The Lost Apple Project is a nonprofit organization that searches abandoned farms and orchards in the Pacific Northwest to locate old apple varieties that have been thought to be lost or extinct. At one time, there were approximately 17,000 named varieties of domesticated apples in the United States. But now there are only about 4,500 known to exist today. Okay, so we've lost varieties of apples. So if you think back in the day when we were very much an agrarian society or an agriculture-based society, where every person out there had a farm that was producing food or food crops, it was very easy for those farmers to do cross-pollinations and create new varieties of food. Okay, that's how we get it. I'm doing that very same thing here in the greenhouse. I'm crossing flowers and crossing varieties back and forth to get things that I really, really like. Right? So like this beauty. Yeah, this is my very rigid stemmed Firefly Petunia hybrid. Okay, so back in the day, that was kind of a pastime. That's what farmers did, is they created their own varieties of apple. So 17,000 varieties. The project was founded by E.J. Brandt and David Benscooter to work closely with Temperate Orchards Conservancy in Oregon, which identifies the specimens that Brandt and Benscooter, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, collect. Brandt and Benscooter rely on old county fair records, newspaper clippings, and nursery sales ledgers, as well as tips from people to find likely places to search for old trees. They collect apple specimens in the fall and then return in the winter to gather wood cuttings or scions for grafting. The project's searches focus on eastern Washington, western Idaho, and northern Oregon. Okay, so that's my region. The project is affiliated with the Whitman County Historical Society. As of May 2021, the project has discovered 29 lost apple varieties. Some of the lost apple varieties that the project has found in Washington include Streaked Pippin, Sorry Sinap, and the Nero. Nero, which was discovered at Steptoe Butte, was the first old apple variety found by Benscooter. Okay, so this is the Lost Apple Project. So what I want to do is I'm on a quest. I'm on a quest to find my apple variety that I used to enjoy as a kid. Now, I've kind of alluded that there was a characteristic of that apple that made it special. And it has the word jumbo in it. So when I say jumbo, that's a throwback to an elephant long ago that was in a circus and was of great substantial size. And thus we started using jumbo as a name to describe something of significant or great size. That apple was of great or historical greater significant size. So this historical apple. Now, let's go back to my sources, and we'll talk a little bit about that apple variety. See if I can, oh, no, that's not the one I want. Okay, so the Stark apple variety. This is from, oh, I just gave it away. Stark Jumbo. Stark Jumbo is the name of the apple variety that I'm looking for. So Stark Jumbo, this apple variety was grown by Stark Brothers. It's a Stark Brothers nursery. They sell apple trees and other shrub and perennial fruit plants. So berries, apples, things like that. They sell plants for you to purchase so that you can grow your own. So the Stark Jumbo. Now let's read a little bit about this. The Stark Jumbo weighs up to 2.5 pounds. 2.5 pounds. Okay. So it's an oversized apple. There are stories that I was told by my father, who the Stark Jumbo tree was his tree. It was given to him by his father, and it grew on our family farm for a couple of decades before it was cut down for a construction project. Unfortunately, back then we had no idea that you could no longer purchase Stark Jumbo apples, right? So, and I've reached out to Stark Brothers for many years, and they say there's no plans to carry this apple again in the future. So, a description: weighs up to 2.5 pounds. Get your pie crust ready. Just one of these giants makes a heavenly pie. Okay, so imagine one apple per pie crust. Characteristics: bloom color white, hardiness zone 5 to 8. Yeah, I could grow here. Pollinator required. Ripens early October. Full sun, loamy soil. Texture and taste: so it's sweet and tangy, crisp and juicy. I will say it is a very pleasant eating apple. You will never be able to finish an entire apple in one sitting. You just can't. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the 2.5 pound apple and kind of give you an idea of what that is. So I've got a little bit of a scale here, and we'll see if we can tip this down. And I've got a full bowl of demo apples to use as a description. Let's get some coffee out of the way first. There we go. Okay, got my scale. See if we can get this up a little higher. We get this a little bit higher so you can see it, and I don't have to tilt the screen down too far. Okay, I am going to turn this on. Tilt this down a little bit. Okay, so the scale's on my side, so I can read it. I'm going to turn it to pounds. And we'll read some other descriptions, because some other descriptions of people that have grown them, the apples actually get larger than 2.5 pounds. That's a 7.5 ounce apple. We have a long ways to go. Okay, and I'm going to keep adding apples until we get there, and you'll get an idea of what we're looking for. Okay, not quite a pound, 14 3/4 ounces. 1 pound 4 ounces. 1 pound 12 ounces. 2 pounds 3.5 ounces. There's 2.5 pounds of apples. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 apples. So 6 apples. You can see the volume of apple here. So that's 2.5. That's 2.5 pounds. Now, there are some accounts that say that they can get larger. When I was a kid, the way they were described to me is if you thinned the apple tree down to where you only had 1 apple per branch, you could get them nearly the size of a basketball. And I believe it. I mean, I had apples as a kid. Yeah, I'm holding it up around my face because that was the diameter of the apple. This is pie pan here, and you can see the immense number of apples here. That Stark Jumbo, they tended to be a little flat and really kind of wide. It would have filled this entire pie pan up to about that high. So it was an immense apple. Now, let's read some other history about the Stark Jumbo. Let's see if it's still here. Of course. Give me a moment. Stark Jumbo. This is from honeycrisp.com, from their website. Known for very large fruit, one apple can fill a dessert pan. Balanced sweet, tart flavor with firm texture, excellent for pies and crisps. Typically harvest early October in many U.S. regions, varies by climate. Let's see, what makes it special? Its size. The Stark Jumbo apple is famed for large fruited heirloom as a large fruit. Stark Jumbo is a famed large fruited heirloom apple with firm flesh and sweet balanced tart flavor. Shines in crisps and for slicing. How big can they get? Yeah. When is it harvested? That's not the question I'm looking for. Does it refrigerate well? No. They give you a pie recipe, which is cool. That is not the information I was looking for. I'll find it. It's tied in with Hanners. Okay, I got it. Here it was. Hanners Jumbo Apples. Okay, so you have to understand that, where's his name? Daniel Hanners. So Daniel Hanners, mostly known as Dan, was a man of many talents. Hanners moved to Hood River, Oregon after marrying his wife, Mary Ann, and resided in the city for the remainder of his life. Hanners held many positions. Let's get down here. One of his most notable titles within the community was apple grower. After discovering large apple sports, which is a mutation, on his Spokane Beauty apple tree, Hanners began breeding gigantic apples. In the mid-20th century, one apple from Hanners' first supersized crop was selected and photographed and featured on the back cover of the quarterly report of the United States National Bank of Oregon. This photograph gave Hanners nationwide publicity, and the apple photo even reached an unnamed man from Pennsylvania. The man contacted Hanners and sought to purchase the 1.5 kilogram apple. It was rumors that the man gave the apple to President John Kennedy when he was on tour. Okay, that's 3 pounds. Let's do this right so you can get an idea. Oh. There you go. there's 3 kilograms, or there's 1.5 kilograms, or 3 pounds of apple. Henner's Jumbo apples were developed in Hood River, Oregon. In 1958, farmer and breeder Dan Henners was walking through his orchard when he spotted a few oversized sports on his Spokane Beauty. These were natural mutations on the tree and were selected by Henners for propagation. He took the mutated branch, grafted it onto a Malling 9 rootstock, and encouraged the tree to produce large fruits by overwatering and severely pruning the branches. The supersized apples developed from the grafted tree were initially named Henner's Best, also known as Stark Jumbo. Okay, but the Henner's Best now is not the original. There's more that goes into that. Today, Henner's Jumbo apples are only grown in Oregon and offered as a specialty variety grown through farms such as Kikawa Family Orchard in Parkdale, Oregon. They still sell the apple, right? But it's a Henner's Best, which is actually the one they're raising. I went through and looked at it, is actually a mutation off of the Stark Jumbo. So it's something different, and they've given it the throwback name. Okay, so why am I obsessing about an old apple variety? It's cool. You know, how would you love to show up to Thanksgiving and you have one apple that is the equivalent of all of these apples, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 apples. One apple is equivalent to 7 apples. It's ginormous. I used to take those apples to school and they wouldn't even fit in a traditional lunch sack. Too big. And I would sit there and I would eat that apple, and that would be my apple for lunch. So the Stark Jumbo. So why have I kind of brought this all up here to my live stream? I'm looking for it. I want it. So like I said earlier, I've reached out to Stark Brothers. They are not growing the Stark Jumbo anymore. It's not available. About 3 years ago, there was one orchard, I think in Maine, that was offering it. I cannot find that on the internet anymore. It's gone. I don't know anybody that currently grows it, that grows the named Stark Jumbo apple. I want to find it again. So what I need to do is I need to find a commercial grower that is growing Stark Jumbo apples. I can't just take anybody's Stark Jumbo. It has to be someone that can certify the plant as clean, because most likely it's going to be coming from another state. Unless we've got somebody that's here in North Idaho, I can't really take apples from outside of the area unless they're certified as agriculturally clean. Okay, because we do produce apples in the state of Idaho, and there's import regulations on what I can bring in. So I'm going to enlist the internet's help the internet skill to help me locate a vendor of Stark Jumbo apple trees. I know I can find a place that sells Stark Jumbo apples, but I want the tree. I want to grow those myself. I want to bring the giant apple back to my family. I've got my grown children absolutely love apples. I've got one child that would live on apples if you let him, and one of these Stark Jumbo apples would feed him for an entire day. But yeah, we're gonna enlist the internet's help. Help me find the Stark Jumbo apple. I am looking for it. I'm not a big enough channel to put a bounty on it yet, but let's just say I will applaud you in a video and feature your help in me locating the Stark Jumbo. So this is kind of one of my winter missions, is to figure out how to get the Stark Jumbo apple back. Yeah, so that's kind of today's video. It was a little bit of apples. So if you were driving around out there and you come across an old farm homestead, you know, the house has fallen down, the barn is a big pile, and you still see that little orchard out there, and you're in the Pacific Northwest, reach out to the Lost Apple Project and see if some of those trees that you see are apple varieties that we're missing. You never know what it is that we could have lost. Right now, Stark Jumbo, that's on that list, guys. It is an apple variety that's disappearing. It's gone off of my family's farm. If you don't talk to your grandfather now, you may not know what the name of that tree is. But let me tell you, if you have apples out there that are, the size of a volleyball, it might be a Stark Jumbo. So let's see if we can bring this apple variety back. In the day and age of us looking for absolutely beautiful fruit in the grocery store, how cool would it be if we could bring back giant apples and have those in the grocery store? I've got so much more I could tell you about apples that I've learned, and I know you guys are just waiting for me to take a bite out of this apple. But apples are a wonderful fruit, and I have seen all shape and size of them. I have tasted dozens and dozens and dozens of varieties. And the one thing I know is if we can get back to our original heirloom varieties that had such great characteristics and get away from our disgusting current Red Delicious, that's not an apple. You are missing out unless you eat one like this. If we can get back to those, I'm sure it would be no problem to get our students to eat more fruit. And, I could point back to when I was an ag teacher over in Oregon, and we did something called Food for All, which about this time of year, we would clear out our high school shop. So our welding and wood shop would be completely cleared out. We would move everything to the sides, and we'd bring in these giant bins of fruit that we would then divide up and package. So we'd bring in bulk bins. They're like 4 foot by 4 foot by like 3 foot deep, filled with like cull apples. So apples that didn't meet the grade. And then we'd bring in root crops and potatoes and all of those. And we'd go through, and our students would spend a week bagging them up. And then we would send those bagged fruits and vegetables and root crops, we would send them to families in need in our area. And I think there was about 7 of our FFA chapters in that area that participated. And just our few chapters alone, I think one year we got close to 300,000 pounds of fruit that we bagged up, fruit, vegetables, and root crops that we bagged up and distributed out to families. We also distributed meat. So we had a lot of that fruit in our shop. And the one thing that kind of reminded me of this is there were 2 things that the students would request. So this is, imagine students going into a grocery store, but everything's free. What is it do you think my students wanted to take of all the fruit that we were doing? It was apples and potatoes. They wanted the potatoes for meals. I was a lower income teacher at a lower income school, and potatoes were a big deal. Students wanted the potatoes, but they also wanted apples. And I would have kids pop in all week, every day, all week throughout the day. Mr. Ross, can I go grab an apple? Yeah, go grab an apple. And, sometimes they grab the big cull ones that would be the size of a softball. And they'd go walking out of my classroom all proud with a giant apple. But if we provide our students with fruit that's delicious, that actually tastes good, that doesn't meet some government regulation for sugar content and fiber, but is just a good, solid eating fruit, our students will eat healthier. And they have shown me that through events like our Food for All program, where they had the option to just go grab fruit, good fruits, not just your 5 apple varieties that normally show up in the store, ones they wanted to eat. So, hey, I hope you join me on this campaign and help me start to locate the lost apple variety Stark Jumbo. It's out of production, and I want to find someone in the deep recesses of the American wild that's commercially producing, even if it's in small quantities, Stark Jumbo apple trees. I really want to bring one. So if you know who that is, or if you have a local grower that has Stark Jumbo and they could start producing them again, please let me know. Because Stark Bros, I know a lot of you are going to Google it and say, hey, Stark Bros says they have it. Nope. It is out of stock, and there are no plans to bring it back into production. That is the same message they tell me year after year. Every year I ask to try to make sure that there's a demand. So yeah, kind of a quiet live stream today. So I think we're going to wrap it up. after about a half hour. So it's been about a half hour, but yeah, ranting about apples today. So just a perfect place to do it out here in the studio. And you know what? Maybe next week we will talk a little bit about cranberries. So one of my favorite fruits is a cranberry. We'll talk a little bit more about them too. But let me know if you like this. Those of you that are watching this at a later time, it's a departure from petunias and other plants. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're learning something. And I hope you also start to develop a love and a passion for lost American agriculture. Let's bring back some of those things that we have unfortunately lost so that we have them again, so future generations can enjoy them. So as always, I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoy. Ag Teacher Thoughts and Ag Teacher Christmas out.